First of all, thank you so much, Congressman McCarthy, for being on the show today. I got to tell you, your letter is incredible. The letter that you sent, the fact that you're focused on the border is, I think, of utmost importance to the American people. I've been out here for the last 2 weeks for Sean Hannity and Fox News. I've been reporting here live. And what I've seen is absolutely devastating, from the humanitarian crisis to the national security implications on this 2,000-mile long border, areas where the Biden administration stopped building the wall that have been used, and people are flooding in, not only people, but narcotics and all kinds of contraband and smugglers, to the fact that now we're seeing such an increase in young children crossing that border. I saw some as young as 4 years old coming in with other young minors. And actually, we can't even tell their age. I'm going to talk to you about all of this and more. But first, I want to get your take on what's going on and what is the latest coming from House members as far as like, what can we do to mitigate this crisis and get the attention of the Biden administration?
Well, you know, the worst part about this, it's created by Biden. This is Biden's border crisis. I mean, had he not reversed the actions of the last administration, we wouldn't be here today. I mean, just take the sheer number of 100,000 migrants that we were able to encounter in the last month. Think of all the number that we weren't able to encounter. But put that in perspective. Joe Biden's hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, has a population of smaller than 100,000. That's just what he did in the first month. And then the number of children and what they're keeping them in. And the worst part about this, remember, we're in a pandemic still, COVID down there, not testing, not keeping the distance from them, and they're overwhelmed. What did the Mexico's president say about Joe Biden? He's the migrants president. He's encouraging this to happen. So the sad part about all this is the only thing that's making this happen is the new president and the actions he's taken. He can reverse course and secure our border. Even as Secretary of State yesterday, Blinken said in the committee that borders and security matter a great deal, are fundamental to our security. But his actions are unbelievable. And remember, this created on the very first day. On the very first day, he didn't say open up the schools, but he said, I'm going to get 11 million citizenship. Well, that is just an invitation. And then he takes those.
But 11 million, Congressman, sorry to interrupt you. 11 million is just an estimated number. We believe that number to be 20 million in the United States now. They've been throwing around that 11 million number since I've been covering the border for 20 years now. And I'm down here. I'm like, well, if it's 11 million, where are all these other people fitting into the picture? Right. And you mentioned something very important, and it's about the gotaways. And yesterday in Arizona, while I was covering the border, one of the estimates that came in, and I want to thank some of the Border Patrol fellows that were able to give me this number, but officials, I don't want to give away any names, but they believe that an estimated nearly 40,000 gotaways this year alone, just in Arizona, 40,000 people that they weren't able to apprehend. And they actually say those numbers are low, because in some cases, they're only calling them groups of 20 when actually 60, 80 or 100 have actually fled. And they weren't able to estimate the total number of people. What do you have to say about that as far as the national security implications of the possibility of people being in those groups that could easily be people from nations that mean us harm or terrorist organizations?
I first have to thank you for your work. Your reporting has been spot on and has been very needed at this time for the American public. But when you talk to the border agents, they will tell you it's not just Latin America of the individuals they are capturing come across. They will talk about Chinese, Iranians, and others that they have captured along the way coming across. And you're right, that number is an estimate. And they've used that number for years. They think it hasn't grown. Well, we know it's growing month over month right now. And then there's this encouragement to come across, which just breaks down society when that happens. It's only going to get worse. And remember what we're dealing with right now. We're trying to get out of COVID, why people are coming across the border, not being tested. He's opened the border up, but doesn't open the schools. And also what happens with the number of people he brings over with asylum, they're going to have the right to work. So now they're competing with the 10 million Americans who are trying to find work.